Those of you who don't live under a rock have probably already heard about GeForce Now, NVIDIA's streaming platform that allows users to stream their existing game library at up to 1080p 60 frames per second. One of the coolest things about this service is that since all the games are streamed with NVIDIA's offsite hardware, none of the processing needs to be handled locally by the user's computer, which means you don't really need a super powerful gaming PC to run AAA titles. That's why today I thought it'd be kind of fun if I dusted off some of my most unremarkable, budget-conscious PC parts to assemble a dirt cheap PC that's strictly used for gaming with GeForce Now. Now, I haven't totaled up the exact cost of these parts yet, but I'm gonna assume it's somewhere in the ballpark of $250. And remember, these are just parts that I had lying around. If I actually went online and browsed for the absolute lowest prices, I could be building a system similar to this one for under $200, and I've actually put that PC part picker list in the description below. Prices, of course, are subject to change, but at the time of filming, this was a $199 build, which with the power of GeForce Now, could get your foot in the door to AAA gaming at 1080p 60 frames per second. Not bad for $200, so I'll put that link in the description if you're interested. Let's talk about the parts that I'm using here. Starting with our CPU, we've got an AMD Athlon 3000G. This is actually an APU, so not only do we have a 2-core, 4-thread processor, but we also have built-in Radeon Vega 3 graphics. And you know, the graphical horsepower doesn't really matter here. We're just looking for something to give us a video signal on our monitor, but it is kind of nice that it's built right into the CPU, so we don't have to purchase a discrete graphics card separately. Did I mention this comes with a cooler? This comes with the Wraith cooler, so you're getting a CPU, GPU, and a cooler for roughly $50 to $55. Not bad, AMD. We'll be slotting this into the Asus Prime A320MK. I rarely ever use or recommend A320 motherboards because you can't overclock on them. That's the big thing. You can't overclock Ryzen processors with this platform, but that's more of a moot point in this case. With NVIDIA doing all the heavy lifting, overclocking our CPU and GPU isn't gonna help much anyway. I will mention, however, that if you're gonna build a system like this for GeForce Now gaming and you plan to upgrade it down the line and maybe get a discrete GPU in there so that you can start running games locally on your system, then I would stray away from the A320 chipset, and at the very least get a B350 or B450 motherboard that supports Ryzen overclocking, is generally going to have better power delivery, but for now this is a fine dirt cheap option for our case. It does have some video outs including HDMI, which is absolutely essential if we're going to be using an iGPU and no discrete graphics card. However, it does not have Wi-Fi. There's no built-in Wi-Fi, so we'll either have to connect directly with Ethernet or get a third-party Wi-Fi adapter, but that would cost extra. We're pairing that with 4 gigs of G.Skill Ripjaws 5 DDR4 at 2800 speed, so just 4 gigs of RAM here, and 2800 is definitely on the low side of things for DDR4, but again, a lot of these specs don't matter as much with NVIDIA rendering the games off-site. And again, you do want to think ahead if you plan to upgrade your system down the line. With this particular stick, if you were to buy an identical one and slot it into this board later on, you'd max out at 8 gigs, which is definitely under the 16 gigabyte sweet spot these days for a gaming PC. So if you did want to account for that, I would suggest an 8 gig stick at minimum, assuming that you can afford it. Storage is also one of those things where we can really cut corners here because along with NVIDIA rendering everything off-site, they're also storing the games on their own servers and stuff. So you don't really need a ton of capacity, which is why I've chosen this really cheap Patriot Burst 120 gig SATA Rev 3 6 gigabit per second SSD. So you're still gonna get fast boot times, and if all you're doing with this system is streaming games on GeForce Now, you're not gonna really notice the 120 gig capacity, as it's plenty for your operating system and even a few small programs. Just about the cheapest power supply I have on hand is the EVGA 430 watt 80 plus white unit with non-modular ketchup mustard cables, of course. It's hideous, but you know what? 430 watts is actually a little overkill here when you consider our most power-hungry component is a 35 watt TDP chip that includes both our CPU and GPU. Having said that, if you plan to drop in a discrete graphics card down the line or even upgrade your chip, then 430 watts might actually be appropriate. I would even suggest maybe 500 watts to be safe. Finally, we have our case. This is actually the second time it's being used in a video. The first one was 4 years ago, 2016, where I built the fastest $1,000 gaming PC with like a 6600K and a GTX 1070. And one of the biggest ways I cut corners for that build was by buying a cheap case that could still house everything comfortably and have some adequate airflow at the front. It does have a full mesh front panel with an included 140 millimeter fan. That's kind of generous. And I think it's probably a $50 case if I remember correctly. But the one in the PC part picker list, like the DIY PC, the dirt cheap one, that's pretty much comparable to this one in terms of quality and features for the most part, is like half that. It's like 26, 27 bucks, at least at the time of filming. So definitely a nice alternative there, but this case will do just fine. It even has USB 3 at the front. What a legend. I should also mention it's a micro ATX case, just like our motherboard is micro micro ATX form factor. So yeah, those are all of our parts, guys. I'm super excited to throw this together. It's obviously not the most glamorous rig I've ever assembled, but I'm excited for the value proposition of this system and just how well it's gonna run GeForce Now once it's up and running. So let's get to it. All right, so we've got a clean install of Windows 10 on here. We just installed the GeForce Now software without much hassle, and I've already added a few games from my own library, my own Steam library, and I think this is a Uplay game. So we've got Doom, CSGO, Rainbow Six Siege. I don't know if we'll get around to playing all of them today, but adding them to the cloud library is pretty straightforward. You type in the name of a game that you own, Rocket League. So Rocket League pops up. You add it to your library, then it pops up right here, click play, and it'll actually have you sign in to whatever client that game is attached to. So you can see here the Steam login pops up, and I'm just gonna enter my credentials. Then the Steam window opens up as it normally would, and if you go to library, you should be able to see your game, Rocket League. And when I first saw install, I almost had a heart attack. I was like, wait, what? We don't have to install the games. That doesn't make any sense. But no, it just quickly goes through the prompt and immediately the game shows up in your library and it's ready to play. So click on play and it should launch. So far I've noticed that the games launch a little bit slower than they would if you were just launching them locally off of an SSD, but they do seem to be faster than if you were to launch them with a hard drive, for example. That's just with the couple titles that I've tested so far though. Okay, so I guess we'll just try out Rocket League really quick since we're already here. For starters, the image doesn't look great. It kind of looks like it definitely looks under 1080p, but bear in mind this is also a 32-inch 4K monitor, so things are a bit stretched out. Let's just check to see if we can tweak the options here, the video options under video. Okay, so this is at 720, right on the money there. So we cannot scale up to 1080p, it looks like. Is that right? There's no 1080p option. That's interesting. But let's go ahead and turn on anti-aliasing at least. Can we do high? I mean, we're working on NVIDIA's dyne right now, so I'm just gonna crank everything up as much as I possibly can. Max FPS, I don't know if that matters since we're streaming at a max of 60 FPS anyway, but why not? Render detail, high quality, okay. Oh, you know what? Before we actually jump into this, I don't even know what my internet speeds are right now with this system. Okay, we're getting 130 down. That's good. Should be enough. Yeah, and roughly 60 up. Okay, so there you go. Just so you know what we're working with here. Obviously a bit faster than probably the average household, but again, I think the recommended is like 15 megabits per second down. So as long as you have that, you should be okay for 1080p 60. All right, we're jumping back into the game. This is like the full-blown GeForce Now experience on the $199, roughly $200 PC that we just built. And let's try this out. I'm not using a controller right now. I'm using keyboard and mouse. And I just scored! Oh, I've been scoring in my own goal. That makes sense. But so far, the game doesn't look all that crispy. I will say that you can definitely tell it's being streamed. It's definitely not native quality. This would definitely look a lot better at 1920 by 1080. What happens if hold on, sorry team, I know I'm making a video. I'm not really being a team player right now. Can I do windowed? Will this shrink it down a bit? Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I can resize this window. I was hoping that by doing so, I'd be able to make the image look a little crispier, but no dice there. Actually, sorry, I'm gonna go back to full screen. Sorry team, sorry, yep, that sucks. I know you got paired with a YouTuber. It's not fair. I notice a little latency. There's just a little bit. I'm really curious to see how that translates to like a fast-paced shooter. I mean, I'm having fun playing the game. I just wish it looked better. But the latency issue, while it's there, it doesn't seem to be, oh, there was a mini lag right there. I don't know if you guys saw it. For a split second, there was just like a teeny bit of a freeze. I'll keep an eye out, see if it happens again. Out of curiosity, I wonder how much this is taxing the system right now. Let me open up Task Manager. Wow! Under 10% utilization on our CPU. It looks like we're gonna run out of memory before anything else at around 60, 70%, but our $55 CPU is just screaming along like a champ. That is awesome. 0% disk usage, network's at 5%, GPU's at 26%, so. All right, I'm super pumped. Let's give Doom a shot, see how that goes. So let's see here, what kind of settings are we configured at? Are we still stuck at 720p here? Uh-oh. Yeah-oh. Oh, there's a 1080 option. Whew. Thank goodness. Okay, anti-aliasing, all right, VSync, whatever. Let's go ahead and see what quality settings they've put us at. Custom, eh? No. Give me that ultra. So at this resolution, this game should look better than Rocket League. but I'm a little nervous about the latency because it's a fast-paced shooter. Hey, this does look better. This looks a lot better. I wouldn't question it. I wouldn't even know that this was a stream. I'm being dead serious. I mean, obviously it's not ridiculously crispy because again, stretched to a 4K monitor this size, but it looks good. Okay. Oh, just a little bit of latency there. Let's see if I can actually visually show it to you. I'm gonna put my finger over the sensor really quickly and you guys can see the lag with what's on screen. See that? A couple milliseconds there. Maybe more than a couple milliseconds. So with this amount of latency, it's games like this just aren't playable. They're not comfortable to play. It's not ideal at all, and I wouldn't recommend it. But you know what? I'm thinking that even though we had pretty good internet speeds, maybe it's the fact that I'm connected with Ethernet adapters, because I'm not actually directly connected to the router. I kind of am, but I'm using power line adapters through my home circuitry. So maybe I should try connecting the system directly to the router with a very long Ethernet cable. I'll be right back.
A few moments later.
Holy crap, that worked. It feels way more responsive now. Input lag is a fraction of what it was. It's still not great. I mean, I would say it's not like ideal, but it's so much better. I mean, the game is way more playable now. So I mean, you know, lesson learned here, but nothing really groundbreaking. If you're gonna connect directly to your router, connect directly to your router. Don't use a power line adapter or an Ethernet adapter, or whatever the hell they're called. Just use a straight connection. I'm sure Wi-Fi in some instances would probably even be better than a power line adapter. Those things can be kind of unreliable. I've had pretty good luck with mine up until today. I actually it's what we use for Awesome Hardware every other week, and we never really have any issues with it. We have a lot of issues on stream, technical issues, but they're never really related to that. That being said, this is still, it is so much better, but there is still that little bit of lag that's just a little too noticeable for me. So what I'm thinking here is that because this is a 4K monitor, we're at 30 Hertz right now, I just remembered, because the HDMI port off of our motherboard only supports 4K at 30 Hertz. So let me try to change that. If we can scale the monitor down to 1920 by 1080, then we can potentially increase the refresh rate to 60 Hertz. Right now it's at 29 Hertz. Here, let me just change it to 60 Hertz. I can tell, okay. Oh, this doesn't look normal. No, this looks terrible. This is like 640 or something. Interesting. For some reason, we're not able to get 60 Hertz 1080 on this monitor right now. Different monitor. Hey, that looks more like it. Okay, we're in oh, so much better. Yeah, 60 Hertz. All right, I'm super pumped now. All right, now we can paint GeForce Now in its best light. We have a stable, now finally a stable, reliable internet connection directly connected to our router, and we're using a native 1920 by 1080 panel, which is the resolution that we're streaming at, so the pixels aren't going to be stretched across a 4K display anymore, and overall, that should create much sharper image quality for me. Oh my gosh, this is a world of difference. Oh yeah. Oh, everything, the way it looks, the way it feels, just in the menus. Let's just, oh boy. Let's go ultra, and we're jumping back in. This is it, people. This is the way it's done. Should have done this from the start, but this is all just as much of a learning experience for me as it is for you. Oh yeah. Oh, that feels, oh my God. I'm not even like, I'm seriously blown away by what a difference this makes. It is so good now. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. This looks and feels like it's being locally rendered. They did it. By God, they've done it. They've pulled it off, Watson. This is great. This is really, really good, guys. And I can't believe I'm doing this on a $200 PC. This is the result I was looking for. Yes. platform's giving me a really good first impression right now. And I didn't think it would, but I'm pleasantly surprised and very happy I was wrong. I'm kind of beside myself that the service works so well, and B, I'm getting this level of experience with, you know, for lack of a better term, the crap system that we just built. It's pretty cool. But guys, thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think of GeForce Now, if you've tried it out, if you've had the same experience as me, and what you think of the platform so far, if there's longevity here, if this is gonna be around for the next few years, or if it's gonna fizzle and die out. There's a lot of different ways it can go, you know, and I'm really impressed with how it's performing right off the bat here. At the moment, I think this is going to remain a sort of complementary experience to the way that we game currently, but the concept here is pretty revolutionary and opens a lot of doors, to say the least. So let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Toss a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and get subscribed to the channel for more tech content on the way. Also check out bitwit.tech. At bitwit.tech, you'll find tons of items to wear, use, drink out of, and so much more. Check it out, guys. It's a great way to help support the channel as well, and what we do here at Bitwit. Apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see y'all in the next video.